Hello. Y- Yeah, we've actually. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, for oh, go ahead. Absolutely, and I do want to say a small detail. Uh, Tom Vassell did give us a real quote, but the other quote that we had from Tom Vassell was also real. We're not forging, and also if Tom, if you end up watching this for whatever reason, thank you. Uh, Thank you so much for first of all for giving us that shout out today. That was really cool and it helped us get some backers in. But also on the first review, that that review is probably like the most like detailed and useful critique of a game that I've ever gotten. We kind of used that as the drawing board for what we wanted to do with our second product. So thank you again for reviewing it. Thanks for giving it your seal of approval. And hopefully this one finds its way to you and you get the seal of excellence. Yes. 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 No, I'm actually going to disagree. You should listen to us. This game is awesome. We are an authority on it because we did make it. So yeah, it's awesome. It's got my seal of excellence. There we go. There we go. Okay, so I'm ready to make some decks. How about you? All right. I think the first thing I want to do for making this deck is we're gonna randomly give ourselves a specialization to do. So Aislinn, can you get me a six-sided die and just plop it down right here? I've got a couple ideas. Let's go ahead and get a six-sided die going. Now, what other madness lies in store with Aaron's deck building? All right. So this is our die. We're going to be doing just so just to make sure everybody knows the order. We're going to say that up here, these are the six specializations I'm going to pick from. Where we have, as you can see, 12 other specializations if you get the $129 tier. But today we're going to focus on the six new ones of this campaign, which is these six here. Um, we're going to go. Errant is going to be number one. Saint is going to be number two. And then Archmage is going to be number six. So with those three, you should be able to figure out where the other ones are. So let us figure out. We have a problem? Oh, that must have been. Okay. Let's see. Island, say something so I can see the green bars. Oh, I know what's happening. I know what's happening. I know what's happening. I know what's happening. Aislinn, say something?
Hello, can you guys hear me?
I bet that'll do it.
I think I think I'm unmuted now. Oh, I should have checked.
That's all right. Do you want
Oh
to
man, I was talking so much, as you guys probably saw. Oh no.
take it from the top? Kind of explain what we're doing again?
Yeah, I'll try it one more time. I guess we can treat this as the beginning of the video, sort
Okay.
of.
So, yeah, real quick recap. Go.
Thank you for pointing that out, guys. Yeah, so what I was saying is Aaron and I just decided that we're gonna do an impromptu stream today because we thought it sounded like fun. Um, Aaron's going to be making a deck, as you may have gathered. I'm just going to be commentating and throwing a wrench in his plans, I guess. He's going to be randomly rolling a die to kind of choose which archetypes he goes with. So it's a little spicy. We'll see what happens. And yes, the shout out to Tom Vassell and the Dice Tower crew. You guys are amazing. Thank you for doing the crowd surfing video. Thank you, Tom, for picking Ivion as the crowd surfing Kickstarter campaign of the week for you. That's awesome. We were so excited to see that. And thank you everyone so far who's backed, and thank you everyone who's joined us today. It's been a super energizing day for us. We could barely keep our eyes on work because of everything that was happening, and we were like, "Oh my god, this is so exciting!" So yeah, here we are. We're energized. We're ready to go.
Yeah.
We're making a deck. That's
All
what we're
right.
doing.
So, thank you, Aislinn, for the redux of the introduction. I'm thinking if there was anything I wanted to add. You guys all heard it. Yeah. So let's get started for a second time.
One day we'll start a stream and it won't be terrible.
Okay,
Maybe.
okay. We should really look at how to like choose a start time for these things because we are really bad at this right now. Anyway, let's
One step at a
figure out our
time.
specialization. Let's give it a roll.
Oh
All
yeah.
right.
3.
3. So that's 1, 2, 3. Okay, we're going to be starting with an Enchantress.
The
So
Enchantress.
I have
The best specialization,
no
clearly.
idea what sort of deck I'm going to make. So this is
He's
going
gonna
to
make
be
an
pretty fun.
Enchantress.
So let's start by we know we're going to be an Enchantress. So Enchantress has this ultimate. It's got 39 hit points, so we've got one less hit point than the average, so we're plenty fine. I'm not too worried about being squishy. At the start of your turn, make a tile near you enchanted terrain. This informs me that we could potentially go with some terrain matters effects. Also, we can just use this as an ability to gain power every turn as long as we're moving. So maybe we could make like a range 1 sort of deck that's designed to move up and spend a lot of time spend a lot of actions moving towards their opponent, and then we're taking advantage of the power we're getting every turn. Essentially, so whenever you enter enchanted terrain, you get a power. But this is not the only thing we know about. We have Enchantress card. I have to. There we go. We've got our Enchantress cards that we can potentially pick. So at
Yeah,
this,
Aaron, do you mind if I interject briefly?
absolutely not. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, so Ivion, like, we're building a deck in Ivion. Building a deck in Ivion just kind of like as a foundational thing for someone who hasn't built a deck in Ivion before. We're kind of assuming a little bit of knowledge about the game in this stream because we're building an advanced deck. We're not using hero crafting rules, so we're not smashing anything together. We're going to be custom choosing every card. But every specialization has an ultimate which is outside the deck, and so because Aaron has Enchantress, he just has enchanting. So we just know that that's the ultimate that this deck has because Aaron randomly rolled the Enchantress. And now we're going to be looking through the Enchantress's cards. that you put into the deck to kind of decide what kind of wrapper we're gonna build around the deck, how we're gonna start it, what's its core. So
Yeah,
with that,
exactly. So
unleash yourself.
we started with the specialization, and Enchantress is actually kind of an interesting pick here because only it is the only specialization in this expansion where it's not it's not determined for us what class we're going to have. In Ivion, when you make a deck, at least one of your classes has to share a color with your specialization. So, for example, Errantry, it's white-gray. You'd have to have a white class or a gray class. And in this, and then we're only going to be working with the newer classes, and there's only a white class. There's not a gray new class. So you would have to be knight. But
Right.
Enchantress, we're white and red, and there is both a red class and a white class. So
Yes.
there
So we
are a
can
few.
either legally become an enchantress by being a knight or a sorcerer in the new expansion.
So I've kind of come to the realization that there are like three distinct ways to start building a deck in Ivion. The first one is by choosing traits that you want to build around. The other one is choosing a specialization card you want to build around. And then the third one is choosing a class card you kind of want to build around. And I guess build around, I don't necessarily mean like some sort of combo deck, although those certainly exist. I mean general mechanical archetypes. So I guess build around a class, build around a specialization, or build around a trait. So I was thinking
Checks out.
we could just roll a die and figure out what we're gonna build around today. Just gonna try to keep it random. Did you can you get that dice on command again? I think we got it deleted.
Oh, looks like, yeah, I'll bring it in. Luckily, because Tabletop Simulator is pretty awesome, doesn't take very long. There you go.
All right, we are going to. So traits is going to be 1 or 2, class 3 or 4, specialization 5 or 6. All right.
Okay.
1. All
1.
Right. So we're going to build around a trait.
Okay.
Yeah, I can do that. So
it's not too hard to do with Enchantress either.
White or red. We have a lot of traits we can qualify for.
Yes.
In fact, I think.
Well, those are wizard traits.
Yeah, we can qualify for those.
Well, if we want to be a wizard.
Who knows?
Qualify. I guess because we're building around the trait, we can decide if we want to be a wizard.
Then we're going to pull out the Calbrian traits. I think this is the
Destiny.
only one we can qualify for.
Destiny. Have you ever built a Destiny Enchantress, Aaron?
Haven't. That's a pretty spicy one. But I was actually just going to shuffle these up and see where it gets us.
Okay. Some of those traits are not exactly built around.
No, they're not always, but
this will be interesting.
All right. We're going to roll those up. We are going to be playing an Enchantress with Valor.
Okay, I like that. That's fun. I love making mage characters melee fighters instead, which you can totally do. You can take a specialization that's like more of a magey, control-y style fighter that's at range, and then be like, no, like we're gonna take a bunch of class cards that are all melee, and then just boom, out of nowhere, they're just like this kind of spell slinging warrior. Just
right. So Islin is, I think, even being modest there. If you ever swing by the Discord and play some games with her, which she's pretty much always up for, she
always play mage / warrior characters.
Range 1 Enchantress. She's in love with Enchantress right now.
It's really fun.
So this is pretty sweet. Having Valor says that if I want to have used my second wind, and if I'm near an enemy, I can draw a card. Awesome. Okay. So I'm thinking.
So just to kind of like dig into that slightly, like, it only applies after your second wind. So it kind of compels you to get down in the mud and either like compel your opponent to hurt you, or trigger your second wind in another way. Like that works really well with errands because they can force themselves to second wind. And then you only draw the card if you're near an enemy at the end of your turn. So that's kind of a secondary, like you got to be getting down in the mud, taking damage. You got to be near them.
Right.
Valor kind of compels you to fight like that. So actually that was like a really interesting random trait to draw to build around because it does really like help define what you're doing,
Well, see,
especially as an enchantress.
that's Ivion's secret. Is it? I randomly did it because I knew that literally whatever we picked would give me a pretty cool and unique idea that I haven't explored before. So
No, I think you're right.
yeah.
Like I guess I'm trying to go through the traits in my head, and
Also,
I can't think of anyone that wouldn't.
are all of the white feats here? Are they okay? So it's just Valor as the white text. Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
that's.
it's displaying incorrectly.
I think it's probably just got a wrong column value in the CSV. We'll have to fix that, but
It's just messed up in our spreadsheet.
yeah.
We can fix it fairly
Yeah, we
easily.
didn't just with our impeccable graphic design. Mike didn't just decide white on white was a really good color scheme. Um,
I love white text on my white
yeah,
background.
you can't read it anywhere. It's perfect. Okay, so here's what I think, and there's obviously like this isn't necessarily the best move, but where I'm going with this is I think we're going to be knight because it's ranged 1 and I want to be ranged 1 because I want to be next to people. But I also want to have used my second wind.
Right.
This tells me I want to be a knight, but I don't want to be a chivalrous knight. Because chivalry is
That's thinking
constant.
with your head.
What?
That's smart.
Yeah,
Like
because
that makes
chivalry is
sense.
all about gaining life, and we want to second wind. And you second wind when you get down to 20 hit points. So if I'm passively getting this healing over time, I'm not benefiting from the card advantage I'm getting from Valor. So I am going to say right now, we are not a chivalrous knight. We're a valorous knight. And those are different, I guess. So let's take out anything that has to do with chivalry.
Sure. That's a good starting point.
Yeah, it'll just give us, get us kind of closer. Only play this if we are. You must be chivalrous to play. Get out of there. If you are
We're not
chivalrous,
being
no, I
chivalrous.
ain't chivalrous.
Not happening today.
Oh, my battery is running low. 1 second, I didn't plug in my. Oh, be right back.
Uh-oh. Okay, that's fine. I can talk about a couple of things here.
Yeah.
So I think it's really smart of Aaron not to put chivalry in, although he could be even more spicy and put chivalry in, but only a little bit, and then become chivalrous after he's second winded to kind of like get to the valor quickly and then try to keep himself alive. But that is maybe a bit too spicy, maybe a bit too cute,
Yeah.
as we like to say.
I was thinking about bringing that up as a possibility. Later is putting in like 3 copies of Proclaim, just because chivalry is really strong. However, just for now, let's set it aside. Rebuke is actually I think Knight's only straight counterspell, and it's super good.
Yes,
And
it is.
super rude, so we're gonna put that over there. Providence doesn't give us chivalry, but it does make us heal, and I don't like that. But we do get to
No
choose.
healing allowed.
No healing allowed. Providence is, we're putting Providence in the pile I like, because I really like that card. Become chivalrous? No, thank you. Gain a random relic. Yeah, I kind of think you should pretty much always run at least 1 copy of Light of Dawn, because -2/+2, gain a random relic is a really nice deal. And so is -2/+2, Rangeless Deal 5. That's not a bad card either.
No, it's not. And it's interesting too because like even though you're going to be melee, like that still works really well with being an enchantress. Also, like something that's generally really good if you want to try to make competitive decks, which is not something you always have to do. Sometimes it's way more fun to focus on other things like flavor or whatever. But
I have something about that in a second, but go ahead.
yeah. um, it's generally really good if you want to make a powerful deck to put a lot of cards in at different ranges, even if you're running like Valor, because then you can kind of gravitate towards being melee. But in a pinch, like if you get slowed a bunch, or if you're fighting someone else who's really, really good at keeping you away, and like you're low on power and you just need to generate power, or you need to finish them off and they've managed to push you back, but like if you could just use that attack card, you'd win the game. Like there's kind of situations like that that come up fairly frequently. And if you have access to longer range stuff and you kind of hold it in your pocket, you can surprise people with it and just be really scrappy generally, which can
Yes.
also be a lot of fun. That's my
Yes.
spiel.
Sorry, that I lost my train of thought there.
Yeah, sorry.
No
Kind of went on
worries.
a tangent.
That was fine. Yeah, I was going to talk about judgment really quick. But on what you said, I generally think of the range of engagement is your deck should always be able to engage with the enemy at range 3. Whether that's by charging or playing cards to buff up. It should always be able to do something at range 3. Or your deck is just going to get hard countered by range, I think. So, on the subject of not always playing to win, I'm getting really tired of putting Judgment in my decks. Right now,
Oh, but it's so good. It's so worth it.
This card is incredibly strong right now. I think... God, I don't know. It just is an auto-occlude. It gives you 2 power for 1 action, and if they don't spend a card to remove it, they're going to be taking at least, like, 4 to 6 damage from it. So, it's just a great rate. If you're looking to make a very solid knife deck, put 3 Judgments in as your start. I have half of mine just to start the deck with 3 Judgments. Humble is not chivalrous. Holy Ground is not chivalrous. Have Faith.
Not chivalrous.
It's not chivalrous. It is damage prevention, which...
It's actually an interesting choice for this deck, potentially. Maybe as like a one-of.
That's kind of where I'm thinking, is like, it's got the... That's not chivalrous. Have Faith... It allows me to be more intentional about when I'm not taking damage, and if I'm wanting to get my second win really quickly, that's potentially a really good option.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of like as a quick note, for any who might not be aware, you don't actually have to put 3 cards, you don't have to put a play set into your deck when you're putting a card into your deck. You don't have to put 3 of the same card into the deck. You can just put 2 or 1, and then like you just have to make 45 cards total. So you can kind of have like this menagerie of different things from like every card in that class, for example.
Yeah.
To just kind of get your little box of wonders. And like generally we like to use that for cards that we don't want to see all the time. Like you probably don't know the text on Have Faith, but if you look through later, I don't know if we're going to explain it in detail right this minute, but
I have it on screen right now. I mean,
perfect. Yeah. Have Faith kind of saves you, but it also comes at a cost because it's possible that someone could burst you down while you have Faith up, and you could just lose your whole deck, and that's really dangerous. It's also pretty situational. Like you don't really want to be using Have Faith every single turn you can. Like, so generally speaking, we try to avoid putting 3 ofs of a card like Have Faith into your deck, but it's really, really cool sometimes to have a 1 of a card like that, because it can be extremely effective at the right moment, kind of holding that ace in your pocket.
So I think I'm going to start getting the... Let's see, we're going to do saved that camera view. So if I go over here, let's move that. We're going to start making our deck. We're going to, let's see, get this a little more nice. So when I make decks, I usually make a... We're just going to use Judgments as an example. This would be a very strong deck, by the way. Actually, no, it wouldn't. They just wouldn't break Chivalry, and you could do nothing to them the entire game. Usually when I make decks... Oh, that didn't work at all.
It's a lot of Judgments.
It is. Here, just so... I usually just make 3 rows of 5, and when you're playing with playsets, this is usually enough. You put your 15 specialization cards here, and your 30 class cards here, and if you have like 2 ofs or 1 ofs, you can put them on this end. I know some other people like put dice on the cards to indicate how many copies they're doing. I don't really do that.
Well,
But
that's incredibly useful when you're trying to just take a picture and show people, like on the
yes,
Discord or on the internet somewhere. It makes it really, really clear what you're putting into the deck. Highly recommended if you're looking to show it off at a glance to other folks.
right, exactly. But for now, I'm going to start by just putting 3 judgment on. Actually, Aislinn, could you put little dice on the cards as I
Oh,
place
sure.
them?
I can
Okay.
do that.
So we're going to start with 3 judgment. Now, if we're going to be trying to do stuff at range 1, the only way I'm going to get any range 1 attacks is through Knight, because all of the other specializations, or all the other classes are range 2 or 3, and Enchantress is range 2, primarily. So let's take a look at our attacks that we have set aside in our little pile. Daring Strike and Enchanted Strike are kind of our bread and butter. -1/+1s are pretty important, and those are -1/+1. So I'm pretty sure they're going to make the cut, so we're setting them aside. Light of Dawn can do damage, and it also can act at range, and I want at least 1 anyway, so I might throw in that. So I'm putting that in the short list. I think there should be at least 1 other attack. There's Stand Aside.
Quick note, Light of Dawn is like one of my favorite cards. I love it.
Yes. It's
It's
also
so
got beautiful art. It looks, I think it's one of the cards that looks the best in the new format.
it's gorgeous.
All right. So
That
here's what,
art is by Septimius Ferdian, who has made a ton of the art in Ivion, among other incredibly talented artists. Uh, and Septimius Ferdian, I hope I'm saying that right, by the way. I think I am, but maybe Septimius can say otherwise. But anyways, he does an amazing job. Oh my god, so good. Anyways, our artists are amazing. We love you guys.
so looking at this, and yes, Septimius, you're great. You've never met me or talked to me because Aislinn's the art director, but I know you. uh, so for night attacks, Daring Strike and Enchanted Strike are definitely going in at 3 copies. So let's take those and slap those over here, like so. If we do shift 1.
Awesome. So we're starting to get this kind of vibe for this character, like their role playing element, their fantasy, their character fantasy is starting to come to life. We have this
Yeah.
Enchantress knight Enchantress, one could say, that has a sword, and
So,
she gets up in people's faces. So I guess she's not like your average um, aloof Enchantress. She's a bit more brutal. She's a bit more in your face. I
let's.
like that. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think she's going to be pretty sweet. I think let's give her a name.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah, if anybody in the chat has an idea for the name of the Enchantress, we'll have to pick one soon. But get your get your suggestions in now.
Good call. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm looking at chat. I can't see chat. Nothing, either no one has said anything since, or I can't see what they're saying.
That's
So we may have a problem there. Refreshing has unfortunately not worked.
well. Are you seeing us on the Twitch stream?
I am seeing us on the Twitch stream.
Okay, well that's really what matters. So we're good for now.
Yes.
That's okay. I have a name for her. Her name is Denise.
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 Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
So I have a thought that I was thinking about it. Is I see that we have stand aside, set aside. Oh,
Can she be
one
Denise
second. 1 second.
Lachantre?
Hi, Mom. What's up?
Aaron's mom's on stream.
Yeah. When are you planning on going? We are busy. I was. Yeah, we can't go out tonight. Sorry. Enjoy it without me.
That sounds amazing. We might have to fix that. Maybe. Actually, I have other things I have to do.
You have a thing you gotta do, unfortunately. Sorry, that was my mom asking if I wanted to go to Azteca, which is a local Mexican restaurant that's super good, and I'm really bummed now that I'm missing out. That would have been lovely.
Dang. Rain
Yeah,
check, I
alright.
guess.
Well, can I get an F in chat? Let's see. I was saying, right, stand aside. So stand aside does 6 damage and allows me to knock somebody back. I also have in Enchantress another card that does a very similar thing called Begony.
It's not called Begony.
It's
It's
called
called Be
Begony.
Gone. Be Gone.
So this is
Be
stand
gone.
aside, 6 damage, travel the tile. This is Begony. Begony says, deal 4 damage to target enemy, travel them up to 1 tile away from me. So I see that I have 2 options available for that. Now, I am the kind of person who wants to figure out a way to make this work with Valor, even though Valor wants me to be next to them. So, as such, we are going to put both of them in. Not sure what we're doing with them yet, but we're going to have the ability to move people.
I have been shirking my dice duty. Are we at 3 ofs for each of these?
Oh, you know it.
Awesome.
I'm also trying to make 3 copies of them as well. So.
Oh, to actually make the deck.
Yeah. So.
Yep, there are 3. Oh, this one's got 1 too many. Let's fix that.
All right, I
How
think
about
we're all
you
good.
just tell me how many you want to put in, and I will handle the rest.
Sounds good. Okay, so we got those 3. We don't really have any power costing attacks. We don't even have power costing attacks as options here. We both have those in. So.
Critical mass. High critical mass.
Oh, hey, that's a guy I used to live with. He's super cool. Hello, Critical
Yeah,
Mass.
pretty neat.
We're making
He
a
says,
deck over
"Hi,
here.
I am chat." He is chat.
He is chat. Well, that's okay. That's acceptable. We only have like 1 power costing attack in Enchantress, and it's a pretty good one. Deal 6 damage to target enemy. You can play a card spending any combination of your resources and their resources. This is just a really good card.
Yes.
And it's a little tricky. It requires holding resources up, so that's something I'm going to be thinking about, but I'm going to make 3 copies. Oh, I should have had Aislinn do that. Sorry.
It is a little difficult to use. You're going to put in 3 copies regardless?
Oh, yeah.
Dang, okay. That's pretty
Okay.
brave, pretty bold. I think playing that card 3 times in a single game is going to be tough. But it's pretty sweet, so I'm down.
Okay, so this is
Also,
getting us...
hello, Solipsisty. I think that's how you'd say that. Correct me if I'm wrong. Thank you for joining us. I know we were supposed to start playing Ivion 2 minutes ago. I'm sorry. We will speed this up so that we can get going.
Yeah, well, fortunately we've got a decent amount of progress here. So we got 5 cards that do damage. I think adding 3 copies of Light of Dawn is pretty good, because Light of Dawn is going to serve as potentially some damage. It's also going to give us a relic. It's on the cheap side. It's all good by my book.
One of the great things about Light of Dawn, too, is that it has no range. So it doesn't matter. You can just gain the relic anywhere you are, or you can deal damage no matter where they are, which is surprisingly effective. And the greatest thing about all of that is that you can gain the power no matter where you are, which is also surprisingly effective. Being able to generate power no matter where you are on the board is really useful. One would say even potentially key to having a strong deck.
Yes, Aislinn is correct. I'm just thinking about what we need.
Fair enough.
I
see that we have a fairly decent ensemble of attack cards at this point.
Yeah, I kind of fleshed out that first because I knew I was going to be having to get it from our range 1 archetype.
Yeah.
So if we're moving people, I think I kind of want to have some tile modifiers, like things I can put on the board that are going to be worth moving people into. So we have a few options in Enchantress, and I think we've got one option in Knight.
Oathstone, which is actually a really good card to knock people into.
I think
So
it's actually I think it's just Hush.
you have Hush. Yeah, if you're just thinking of Knight the class and Enchantress the spec, yeah, you currently have Hush and Oathstone as options for causing some mayhem on the board itself.
Okay, yeah. So I think I'm gonna do that. So we've got Hush and Oathstone. These are Oathstone is just an amazingly obnoxious card, and if we're able to use the Stand Aside and be Begony to just knock people into our Oathstones consistently, I think that's going to be pretty nice. So we're going to put them both in at 3 copies each.
All right. Okay, so this is kind of like starting to become a tile modifier deck then, because that's six tile modifier cards, which is substantial. Like you
Exactly.
said, you have Begone, otherwise known as Begony, and Stand Aside that can knock people into that stuff. So, Aaron, it's also starting to seem like because you're a melee character with Valor, maybe you want something like Throw the Gauntlet, something that can get you closer. Maybe even you could potentially use Jaunt to catapult yourself forward, which sounds hilarious and amazing.
Yes.
Never actually thought of using Jaunt that way, but it just like
That's kind
sparked
of
in my
what
head.
we're thinking about right now. Yeah. So let's get 3 copies of each of these. I'm
Right.
I'm
Sorry.
kind of I think you and I are picking up on the same idea. Something else I'm noticing about this deck is both Oathstone and Hush, as well as like all but Ensorcel, all of these cards are giving us power. Stand Aside doesn't give us power, but we are very high on power gain right now. That means that we of our cards, if we added up all the power costs and subtracted from that, added up all the power gain from the cards and subtracted from that the power costs, we would be a very positive number.
Yes, and I
So
want to interject really quick because Aaron just touched on a very important concept in deck building in Ivion, custom deck building in Ivion, which is you really gotta be power positive. You have to put a lot of power generation cards into your deck. And Aaron's actually approaching this in a really good way. He is putting a bunch of power gaining cards in first. So he's kind of like forcing himself to have good power balance, good power generation, and power. So Ivion's a lot like Magic the Gathering in some ways. There's a lot of core high-level concepts you can take from Magic that still sort of vaguely apply to Ivion.
turns
Although
out
I would
drawing
like to point
cards
out
is
it is a very
still
different
good.
game. Um, uh, Power generation in Ivion is kind of like lands in Magic. Like you need lands in your Magic deck to play for most decks. We're going to just assume that that's a blanket statement. You need lands because you need to be able to generate mana. That's basically what power does in Ivion, except in Ivion, your cards that generate power actually do cool, fun things, which is sweet.
Although
But it's really, really important to put those cards into your deck. Like you gotta have a lot of power generation.
to Magic's credit, though, if any of you are following along with the most latest set, they are making lands that do interesting things. They're
They
making
are.
cards that are one side are a spell and the other side are a land, and I think that's going to play very. I'm very curious to see how it plays. We'll see.
Also,
But
I want to be a little careful here. I don't want to poo-poo Magic too much because it's one of my favorite games ever. It's amazing. So
I don't think you even poo pooed it a little bit. But your sins
just
have
to
been
make it
forgiven.
crystal clear, Magic, pretty cool.
All right. Well, while you were talking about the power balance things, I was pulling out some cards that I've got some things connecting in my head of where this deck is going. I have a lot of power generation. I'm knocking people back, and I'm also wanting to move. Additionally, I every turn am making a tile near me enchanted terrain. So
Right. That's a tool at your disposal.
yeah, exactly. I want to be traveling a lot if I'm knocking people back, and I'm wanting to use Valor to be near them. So there is actually a trait that allows me to travel, allows me to move without spending actions. It is rangeless, and it is it cares about having a lot of enchanted terrain, and it costs only power. So this is where Dream Step comes in. Travel 1 tile towards target tile with terrain.
Oh, we're cooking with gas.
I'm going to be making enchanted terrain every turn. I can just pretty much always have this being able to go wherever I want, and also check it. If I play Enchanted Strike, I can make a tile near me enchanted terrain. This is a range 1. I could make the tile they're in enchanted terrain. I could then play Be Gone or Stand Aside to knock them back. Then I could play Dream Step to move into that tile that they were in that had enchanted terrain. I gain the power, and I'm right with them. And I've moved them
You
to
can
where
kind of force them into the area on the board you want them to be, like next to
exactly.
your Hush or your O-Stone or maybe your Chaos Storm or Wild Magic if we're going in that direction.
Right, and you saw that I pulled
And then you
those
can
out.
just I did see you pulled those out. But yeah, then we can just Dream Step towards them again, which pays for itself, which is pretty sweet. So I'm starting to think that this character's moniker is like the Dreamwalker or something like that. The Blade Walker. She's pretty cool. She's pretty neat. Denise. I think she's feared.
I guess so. Yeah, no, I think she's
Just comes out of the forest and this vaguely enchanted wind blows through the town and the villagers are like, "Oh no, it's Denise again."
not her.
Not Denise. Get
Well,
out of here, Denise. How many times are you going to kill us?
so back to making the deck. However, we have a lot of power generation, and we want to do some tile modifier stuff. I pulled out Sorcerer because I know they have a power costing card that attaches to empty tiles. Chaos Storm. Chaos Storm also happens to do a lot of damage and make the enemy discard a card. It also can move around if they're not near it. It's just a really good card. It
It
costs 2
is.
power. It's on plan. It definitely goes in at 3 copies. Wild Magic is
All
another
right.
card that is 3 damage to each enemy near Wild Magic. It's pretty good. It's power generating. We do have a lot of power generation, and so I'm not entirely sure if we play this. I think we do.
So something interesting about these cards that attach to tiles that deal damage is that they kind of sort of substitute what we were talking about with having longer range attacks and effects in your deck, because you can start to, instead of having longer range stuff, you can just start to control the board in other ways. And that sort of like expands your reach to compete with characters that are doing that. And one thing I want to point out real quick is that Solipsisty said, "I must say the art is fantastic, yet the design is still practical and easy to read." Thank you. What a nice compliment. A lot of people worked on making that happen, and we're very happy and proud with how it turned out. So I'm really glad you think it's neat. Uh, but yeah, sorry. Go ahead,
No,
Aaron.
no, that's completely fine. Thank you so much. Most of the credit actually goes to Aislinn. She is being far too modest. She designed most all of the cards, and she's the art director. She lets me take some of the credit, but really, this is her show, and she rocks it.
Oh, thanks, Aaron. But I'm actually
Um,
going to pass the baton to Mike, our graphic designer, because
well,
he's
we can do the awards show later. We got a deck to finish, and
fair
you've
enough.
got a match to get to. So let's try to
That's true.
wrap this up. We have our core. We are doing enough damage now. What we aren't doing is really doing it. We don't have any way of interacting with our opponent other than damaging them. We aren't really doing any control. We aren't playing any counters. We're just going hard. So
Yeah.
I definitely think we need to put in some instants and hard. We need to put in some hard counters, and we need to put in some control. Hopefully,
We also don't have any way to draw extra cards, which could be a problem. Or
right?
no, we have Valor.
We have Valor. That's the thing is
That's the
Valor's our
first
our
card we
engine.
started with.
Yeah,
So if we don't put any extra card draw, that I feel like that kind of means that like we're really gunning to second wind, which means that a decent way to counter this deck at this moment would be to just play the waiting game where you're like, I'm gonna actually get you to 21 hit points,
Yeah,
and then
don't
wait until
play.
I can do a ton of damage.
This deck is really wanting to be the beatdown. Is
Yeah.
what it seems like, which is a Magic the Gathering competitive term for who should be being aggressive in a matchup. There's always one person who should be aggressive and one person who should be more controlling. And a lot of playing Magic well is figuring out which one you are in any specific game.
Yes.
So,
And that applies to Ivion too. Like I think
yes,
that applies to like
every game.
pretty much any game that has strong head-to-head elements. But yeah, it definitely applies in Avian. Slipsisty asked, what is the most devastating spell?
Oh,
Aaron, what is the most devastating spell in the game? I think that there is a fairly easy,
yeah, we're pulling it up
low-hanging
right now.
fruit answer to that question. I think
This
Aaron
is
has the
also
same
Critical
card.
Mass's favorite card, I think. Oh, no, it's not. Critical Mass isn't even. So, this is the most devastating card. There's hard cast, there's some mechanics that we don't need to go over right now, but essentially, this card is the card that'll give, if you resolve gives you the highest chance of winning.
This
20
card is
damage is a lot.
literally a wall of text. Like,
Yes.
we literally found how much text we could put on a card without going overboard. And we were just like, all right, just
Yeah.
keep throwing effects on it because we want it to feel like it's just world ending, essentially. It is the
There's
hardest
a
hit card
very
in the game. It is the highest action and power cost card in the game. Pulling it off is actually really hard. But when you do it, it's pretty sweet.
yeah. But we cannot run it in this deck. So uh
Slips Sisty asked, in the core or these expansions, it is in the core. It's in Winterstorm, which isn't technically the core game. At least we don't like to think of it as the core game because the expansions, the new products are completely standalone and don't require you to have Winterstorm to experience to their
yeah,
fullest.
we designed this to be the start for people moving forward. Our first set is great, but it's not the most accessible for people who aren't really into this kind of game.
Yeah.
Comet is a really powerful, a lot more playable card than Raise. It's ranged.
Yeah.
It's got 3 times as much range, does 12 damage, but it packs a wall up. And then there's Fiend Slayer and Saint right there.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, there's like a lot of other cards that hit really hard, but nothing really comes
Nothing
that
compares to
close
Raise.
to Raise. Raise is just insane.
So
We probably will not print a card that does like as much as a Raise does for a very long time.
yes, a number of lines of text for sure. Now,
Yeah.
I did put this card over here, and I do plan on talking about it. So
We'll get to
Spurn.
it eventually,
Well, yeah,
which is right now.
yeah. Spurn is a great way. It accomplishes a few things for us. For starters, that little purple exclamation point there means that it is an instant. We can play it on an opponent's turn. Our deck right now still has a lot of power generation. This is a power costing card that is a hard counter. It allows us to interact with our opponent at range 2. And also, this card is brutal. This is the most backbreaking counter I've ever had to deal with. Because if you successfully catch somebody with it, they have to discard 2 cards, which is awful. It is not only you lost the card you played, you lose 2 more cards from your hand, and that is very hard to come back from. God, I hate this card because Aislinn plays it all the time at the worst time. She always has it.
Well, I play it well.
So we're
So
gonna
this is
have
actually a great opportunity to talk about how we handle counters in Evian as opposed to Magic or a lot of other competitive card games. So you'll notice on essentially every hard counter in the game, it will say counter target card unless its controller pays such and such resources. And the reason we put that in was because we know a lot of people don't really like being hard countered. They don't want to just be like, I play my cool attack. And then someone else is like, well, I counter it. Well, then I play my cool attack. Oh, counter it. So we wanted to create the ability to have, well, I guess, counterplay to counters. You can actually play around them without having a counter of your own. You can, if you are just beating your opponent on resources. Like if you have a lot more than them and you have resources that you can just essentially use to brute force through, you can just say, I pay then. I pay 3 more resources to play this card. You, it hits you anyways. And that kind of creates an interesting dynamic where you have to think more critically about how you use your counters. So that kind of makes the control play styles a bit different than what you usually see in this kind of game.
Yeah,
Anyways, another spiel. Sorry, Aaron.
no, it's fine. I mean, we're here to talk about the game, and that is certainly a big part of how we designed Ivion. There's kind of 2 tiers of counters. That was actually one of the other reasons I picked Spurn. Spurn is one of our few ways of doing actual hard counters. Sorcerer has a lot of sorcerer's counters are actually very light. Like Blur is counter unless they pay 2 resources, and there is a world of difference between counter unless they pay 2 and counter unless you pay 3.
Yes.
And Glare is this small little trick that'll stop an instant, but it'll stop very little else. Both nice cards, but they're usually nice to have, and they help. They're very light interaction, and
Yeah.
I'm kind of looking for some more. I'm looking for some more safety, some stronger defenses. So
Sure.
this tells me Spurn, and I think there's one other hard counter that I have access to, which is
Rebuke.
Rebuke. Where did you go? You're over here.
Rebuke.
Anyway, we're gonna get 3 copies of Spurn and 3 copies of Rebuke.
Whoa, 3 copies of both of those?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's a bit crazy, Aaron.
It is. So Rebuke is
a lot of hard counters.
Very similar to Spurn. It's counter unless they pay 3, and if you do counter, you get to add it. You get a little bonus, and it is really brutal as well.
It is. So what these 2 cards getting added to your deck here, especially in play sets of 3 each, kind of tells me that you're going to be saving power very often. Like you're going to be generating a bunch of power during your turn by playing your attacks, and then you're just going to be waiting to kind of disrupt them and expend all that power that you've been saving up.
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate. I think we're going to be, in general, most of our power spending is going to be through either playing Chaos Storm or Ensorcel, or we're going to be saving it up for interaction. We pretty much don't use power in other ways.
Yeah.
One of the things I'm pretty happy with and why I'm willing to do this is because we're Enchantress, we are getting an enchanted terrain every turn by default, which makes getting power very nice and consistent.
Yes.
Normally in these in your traits, you usually want a trait such as Ponder. A trait such as Ponder that generates you power. That way you always have a consistent stream. But because I'm Enchantress, I don't have to worry so much about it because my very existence is giving me power.
Good to be an Enchantress.
It is good to be an Enchantress. So, Aislinn, so far this deck has got some not that much wiggle room anymore. Can you tell me what I've missed?
Yes. So you.
Do you need me to pan to the deck?
No, no, I'm good. I'm looking at it on my screen too.
Oh, right.
You don't have any way to control people during your turn, which could be nice, especially because this deck looks like it's going to maybe want to do some combo-y turns where it just does a bunch of damage at range 1.
Yep.
So it might be nice to actually include. You might want to put 3 copies of Enfeeble.
Yep, but there's one more thing that if you look at, you'll notice every deck wants this. This deck doesn't have it.
Good point. Oh, sorry. You were prompting me to say that thing. I totally missed it. You need card destruction, Aaron.
Exactly.
You need to be able to destroy cards.
Because right now, if somebody plays Judgment on me, and I'm not feeling like being very chivalrous, like we established at the very beginning, I have no way of getting rid of it. Fortunately, I have some of the better answers in this expansion or in this product with Make So, and I actually am a pretty big fan of the other one, Humble.
Humble.
Although I don't think I'm running it this time. I think I'm going to be just doing Make So, because gosh, I love that card.
It's a very powerful card.
Yeah, so this card is, you can make 3 copies of that, please. So Make So is super good. It doesn't feel like it should be good because it doesn't feel like it does anything. -1/+1, play a card. Why not just play a -1/+1 and then play a card? The fact that it gives heroic means that it ignores control, which stops it from being. In many situations, a card being heroic means that it is uncounterable, and that can be really nice because Make So allows you to pretty much guaranteed ensure that your card economy is flowing correctly. Also, -1/+1 destroy target card just comes in handy. If you're silenced, this is the only way to get rid of a card while you're silenced right now, which is pretty neat.
Mixo is just like the closest thing to your get out of jail free card in the game,
Yes.
I guess. Like
Yeah,
it's
I
just
think
like you
that's
draw it,
accurate.
and it's like I feel generally safer because I have a make so in my hand because I can now do anything I want because I can make it so because I'm a sorcerer and I just change the world to my will. That's the idea behind it.
Exactly, and it is really cool. Also, beautiful art. I love what Wasan Petuabulchai did with the sorceress is painting the canvas of the world. Very,
Yeah,
very neat. Um,
absolutely.
Final card. I have all of my class cards here. Final card, and I'm gonna say some things after, so it's not like quite the final. But for now, the last card slot, I'm gonna put in Spellbind because I'm still looking to have some sort of interaction. I'm gonna put 3 copies in. Spellbind also is going to be applying control, which right now is I'm pretty light on control right now, as Aislinn pointed out. This is also heroic, which, like I said earlier, many times means uncounterable. This is another super good Enchantress card. Enchantress is an Enchantress with power. Pretty much is always very safe on their turn.
Yeah,
So
they definitely are. And it's also like this is kind of harkening back to one of the strengths we have, even though we're a melee kind of focused deck because of Valor. We're also Enchantress and Sorcerers. We have access to range 2 stuff, and Spellbind is range 2. So even if someone kind of steps away from us while we're engaged in melee with them, we're still threatening. We can still counter them. We can still interact with them and kind of make them sweat a little bit, which is really good.
right, and that's exactly right. And kind of a part of that is this is starting to feel like there are reasons why we'll want to be attacking at range 2 as well. Um, and we still don't have very much control. So what I think is you are completely right that Enfeeble has a place in this deck. If I
But
can,
we're at the maximum number of cards, aren't we?
right, we're going to need to do some replacement, but this was
Uh-oh.
this was
I
something.
love them all.
Where did my pile of sorcerer cards go?
Uh-oh, did we lose Enfeeble?
Oh, I'm sure it's around.
Here,
I'm
I'll
not a very
clutch grab it.
organized deck builder.
No, you kind of like to throw throw them all around, don't you?
I do, but that's
Here,
okay.
Aaron. Here's Enfeeble.
Thank you. Enfeeble does 4 damage and it slows them. This is an attack that slows, that's -1/+1 is a really good way to engage, because generally somebody who's slowed can't play instants, which is why Spellbind is super good, because it's one of the rare instances, one of the rare exceptions. But we're going to take Enfeeble, and I think
Hmm.
that's the question, huh?
Do you need 3 Chaos Storms?
Yes.
Of course, obviously. You have to have 3 Chaos Storms. Why wouldn't you put as many cards called Chaos Storm into your deck as you can?
I mean, it's Chaos Storm. It's not Boring Storm.
No, you're right. Do you need 3 Oath Stones? Full coverage on no initiatives allowed?
Yeah, so actually, I can talk. I think what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be replacing an attack. I think it's going to be Daring Strike. We have
My heart. Daring Strike is so cool, though.
It is, but we
But you
do
have to
have
take
a
it
lot
though.
of ways of attacking. Um, it's pretty cool. It's kind of a toss up between this and Enchanted Strike. Enchanted Strike does more damage. Stunning is really good.
Because you have make so and you have ways to play cards heroically. Um, Part of what makes Daring Strike really powerful, you're not totally benefiting from.
Yeah. I mean, I think that it's a toss up whether I take out Enchanted Strike or Enfeeble. Um, but my gut says let's take out Enfeeble, or let's take out Daring Strike for now.
Okay.
Um,
I think
and
that's
I think that's pretty much it. My only concern with the deck is it doesn't have very much ways of controlling. It's got
yeah.
Enfeeble and it's got Spellbind, and it's got Hushes. Part of me wants to figure out a way to put in Lullaby actually
Hmm.
as my power spender of choice.
Right.
So, I wonder if I take that instead of Ensorcel. If I'm like I don't have a lot of big power spending things to use, and really Ensorcel is good if you have stuff that costs a lot of power. And I'm doing plenty of damage
Oh,
with
that's a good
Chaos Storm.
point.
I
Yeah,
think
I think that's a good
I
good
think
good
actually
point.
we're gonna put in Lullaby because like Lullaby
Ooh.
and then Be Gone into a Hush that gives them Disarm 3. Where are you, Hush? 2 Silence, and also their maximum power being reduced by 1 sounds awful.
This is like flavorfully, thematically, 3 lullabies to me feels like it's changing this deck from being this like brutal blade master to like this nefarious blade master. Like she's gonna come and like slice you like and but then like sing you to sleep or like enchant you so you just fall on her blade. This is one evil enchantress you're making, Aaron.
It
Denise
is.
is a bad person.
So yeah, I think this is like a good starting point. I think there are many points in this where I could have just thrown in cards and it would have been good. This seems like a pretty aggressive, solid deck. One of the things I really like about it is how many rangeless cards it has. Um,
Yeah.
since I don't have a way of natively gaining power aside of moving with enchanting every turn, I was kind of something I really like is that Light of Dawn, not Chaos Storm, Oathstone, Light of Dawn, and Hush and Wild Magic, all, and I guess to some extent Make So, all of those are ways to generate power without being adjacent to my enemy, which I do eventually want to do, but this is a great way to, in the very early game, I can just play out these tile modifiers, get this power bank going for when I finally do engage, and I can probably ride that reserve of power throughout the rest of the game. Um,
Yeah.
Also,
No, I think so.
we have a lot of range 2 stuff, which I'm super happy with as well, because we've got Spurn and Feeble and
For a
Judgment,
deck.
Begone, and I think those are the ones that are range 2. Anyway, I'm pretty pumped about this. I actually kind of want to test it, but
Well,
um,
I mean, this turned out really well, I think. This is also a really interesting character. It looks really fun to play as well. I'm a little jealous. But I think what we're going to end up doing with this deck is we probably will have another stream at some point where I make a character. I'll probably do the random dice roll thing as well to kind of uh, see where the winds take me. And then Aaron and I will fight. We will
yeah,
fight with these 2 decks and see what happens.
that's actually a really
Um,
good idea. I don't know why I
Thank
didn't think of
you.
that.
I just came up with it. It sounds fun to me. I think we should do it. But I wanted to point one thing out here real quick. Real quick. Slip Sisty said, "It's great to see the dedication to the game that you two show with all those videos. It's rare to see this from designers." Thank you, Slip Sisty. You are being too kind to us. you know, we made Ivion because we just we wanted to make a card game and it turned out really well, and we were just we love it and we love making decks for it, and you can just make so many different characters, and it doesn't get old. At least that's what our experience has been. And so it's fun to just sit down and make these characters and then try them out and see how they do and refine them and play. And so we plan to keep streaming because we're having a blast. And thank you for watching.
Yeah, Aislin's also far more okay with streaming because she's not the one who has to move her laptop to the laundry room to stream. But that's I guess that's not that big of a deal. It is a
Sorry.
laptop. It's just kind of funny. Well, yeah, we're gonna stream every day, and it's
I didn't
just
say
easy.
that.
No, it really is a
Fine.
lot of fun, and we have a lot of passion for this product, because we found something that we believe is lightning in a bottle. I believe that this game, given the proper chance and like given the backing of people who know how to market it, like if you know somebody who knows how to market games and is good at running businesses, like send them our way because we have something really cool. We just neither of us are really good at the marketing side of things, but we're learning.
We like to design it. We like to make it pretty.
Hey,
We
we
like to
also
make
like
it
making
pretty
the
and make it
art and
fun.
designing. Like we do the product design. We're not looking for somebody to just do the rest. And but I don't
Anyway,
really know where this ended up going. I think we're pretty good for signing off.
I think so.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun to make this deck. Like I said, I will probably end up making one, and then we will clash and see what happens. And
Aislinn,
may the best character win.
can you save this deck? I would save it, but
Oh,
my screen's being shared, and I'm
yeah,
worried they
sure.
would see like spoilery stuff.
Ooh, spoilery stuff. I want to see spoilery stuff. That sounds like
You
fun.
designed the spoilery stuff, so you know.
Exciting.
Ooh, what could it
Uh,
be?
oh, this is Denise Lechantre. Because I called her Lechantre. I don't know what that means. That probably doesn't mean anything. I just think enchantresses are French, apparently. So yeah.
Okay, she's French. That's it. I don't even know what that last name was, but
I don't
yeah.
really either. I don't know if it's a word in French or not. It just sounded kind of
So this kind of mess. This is pretty much what my board always looks like after I'm finished designing a deck. I usually just load a whole new one when I'm making another one. Yeah, so that was my first time making a Valorous Enchantress. So I'm pretty excited to see it. There are a ton of options in Ivion. This is just one of like literally tens of thousands of possible deck combinations. So what I'm saying is tune in next time for Aislinn making a deck, and you will see something